Okay, hello and welcome to our second West Slope Startup Week. We just wanted to start a little introduction, say that we have over 70 virtual sessions running this month, so all crafted by our entrepreneurial community. We have speakers from across the Western Slope as well as statewide. I want to thank our sponsors, our title sponsor, US Bank, and then we'll dive into the session. So you are in the toolbox track, and our session today is how to say no and still be successful in your business. And our speaker is Nicole James Stanfield, and she's the owner and coach of Intuition Coaching. So Nicole, I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. So excited to be here. We're going to have a great session today. I'm going to share my screen. So give me 1 second to get everything set up, and then we'll be ready to get started. Just want to move this over out of my way and put that like that. All right. Perfect. Trying to get my mouse on the right side, right? Always the important thing. Okay. Cool. So before we get started, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that how the meeting will run and what I need from you. So I want to make sure that I give you the best things that I can today, give you the most information possible, right? And at the same time, I want to make sure that you don't have distractions. So if you can take your phone and just set it to the side, silence it, whatever you need to do so that you can be fully present here. I'm gonna give you a lot of great information. So if you need a snack or you need some water, go and grab that before we get started. And what I'd like to do is engage with you guys in the chat and see what your experience is, share with you there. If you have questions, we're going to have question time at the end. If you want to put your questions in all caps, you can do that so that then I can identify the question. And other than that, when I ask you a question, I just like you to make sure that you go to the chat box and share so we can make it interactive and fun and engaging. And you can have your video on or off. So let's get started. I want you to let me know in the chat box why you're here today, why you decided to join us while we're here for Western Slope Startup Week. What's the driving reason that you came here? So one of the reasons why I decided to share is that it's really important so that I can share from my point of view and my experience of what hasn't worked. So I can say, this is where I'm at now, and looking back, this is where I was at and why I wanted to change that. So I'll share my story with you. So yeah, loving the connection, interaction, group learning. Robin, perfect. Tina, it's hard to say no to more work, even when you don't have time for it. Absolutely, because you don't know when you're going to get that again. And then Mara, I tend to overbook myself in personal and professional life. Yep, love hearing from others about how they tackle this. Perfect. And Emily, as a creative, I get a lot of negotiations and back and forth, like to be able to professionally stand up for myself. Absolutely, we're going to talk about all those things today. Perfect. So I help entrepreneurs create a work-life balance so they can take time off without feeling guilty. It was really important to me because why I'm doing this. So in 2018, I burned out. And I burned out to the point where I almost walked away from my business. And I was angry all the time. I was frustrated. I didn't know what I was doing. I just felt so lost. I had really low energy. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. Like changing clothes was a really big deal. And I share this with you because I want to make sure that you know that if you're experiencing some of these things as an entrepreneur yourself, that it's okay. And I think that one of the reasons we end up in burnout potentially is because we don't say no enough and we don't say, I need to put myself first. So that's why I share my own story. So I want to talk about what it looked like when I didn't say no. I felt like if I said no, then I might miss a business opportunity. So I would cram my day full of 6 meetings back to back to back to back. And I don't know about you, but after an hour-long meeting, I'm not really that useful. So by the final 2 meetings, I was probably just sitting there and just blah. I was not engaging. I wasn't present. And I don't think that I really gave the best to the person that I was listening to or that I was trying to work with, whatever that looked like. But I was so afraid of missing an opportunity that I just crammed my time full. So I felt like if I said no to something, then I felt guilty because I wanted my needs to come first, but then I felt like that was selfish. I felt like I was not trying to take care of other people if I put my own needs first. And I was addicted to being busy all the time. This was one of the ways that I covered up that I was burning out, and being busy made it so that I took on more commitments and more. And I don't know if you're the same type of person like I am, but I am very committed. I'm really responsible. So then people wanted to give me more responsibility and more things to do, right? Because I'm already doing all this other stuff. So I felt like if I wasn't busy, I wouldn't be important. And I really want to make sure that this point comes home, because I got to the point where I felt like I had to do things in order to receive love. That was something that I've developed and realized over a lot of coaching. But I got to the point where I realized that I felt like I had to be busy all the time because that meant that I was doing something worthwhile. And in the end, some of the things that I was doing weren't really the best use of my time. Yep. Yeah, Emily, I hear you there. So let me know in the chat box what it looks like when you don't say no, right? What happens in your life when you don't say no? I would feel overwhelmed. I would feel frustrated. I would snap easily at the people that I love. I barely had time for a 5-minute coffee break to randomly happen in the middle of my day. If I saw a friend in a coffee shop, I couldn't just stop and talk to them because I was always rushing to the next thing. Don't enjoy your time off. Yeah, because you're thinking about what else do I have to do? What else is going on? What else don't you guys, what does it look like when you don't say no? Not a good work-life balance and stress piles up. Yep. Band-aids like snacking or binge watching. Absolutely. I know that one of the things that, one of my signs that I'm bored is because I go and I snack and I snack and I snack and I snack. So I try to pay attention to the snacking. I totally get that. Don't sleep well because you're stressed. Projects don't get done. Absolutely. All these things can happen when you fill up your calendar with stuff. So what I wanted to be able to do was have the freedom to say no without losing an opportunity or relationship. Have that space, that capacity in my life that it wasn't all or nothing. I wanted to have other people support me for putting myself first, right? I wanted to have space to breathe and have time to be flexible. So if I wanted to take that coffee break, I wanted to be able to just have a few minutes so I could say, you know what, my next appointment isn't for 30 minutes. I want to chat with you, see how you're doing. I care about you. Let's have a conversation really quickly, right? So I wanted to be able to recognize that I always have a choice to do what is right for me. And a lot of times that gets lost, especially as entrepreneurs, when everything is on our shoulders and everything we're responsible for our entire business. It's health, getting client work done, promoting it, doing accounting work, whatever it is that you have to do for your business, right? So I want you to put in the chat why you want to be able to say no. Just the first thought that comes to your head. What's the thing that you want? Why do you want to be able to say no? And I saw above, someone's working 60 hours and loving it. That's great. If you're loving working 60 hours, not a problem. I'm really excited for you. This is an opportunity for you to identify what the things you don't want to do, so then you don't end up working 80 hours, right? Yes, you can focus on the projects you actually want to do. Perfect. You're an entrepreneur for the flexibility, but you want to be able to say no so you can enjoy that flexibility, right? Space and time to make good decisions. Sometimes it feels like people come up to you and they just ask you this thing on the fly and you're like, I can't say no to that person, so I have to say yes. That got me into a lot of problems. Yeah. Okay, so I want to introduce you to someone that I've worked with helping say no. So before working together, this is Shelly, and she always felt like putting herself first was the most selfish thing that anyone could ever do. The most selfish thing. But after working together, she said that now I see that putting myself last is actually the most selfish thing. And I want to talk about this, but it's something that as entrepreneurs, sometimes we're not very good at paying attention to when we're putting our needs last. I ask people, where are you on your to-do list? And they're like, I don't know. I haven't included myself or my needs. I've got everybody else's stuff before mine. So why did being able to say no and putting herself first work so well for Shelley? She no longer spent her time doing things that sucked up all of her energy in her business, right? She gave herself permission to take downtime and to rest and recharge. And her business grew because she was able to be there consistently instead of being on this roller coaster of, oh, I'm going to make calls and do marketing because I have a lot of energy. And then the next day I have no energy. And so I'm going to just hide and avoid all my emails. And then next week I'll have energy again, right? That roller coaster that we all want to try and get off of. So the 3 steps I use to help Shelley say no and still grow her business. Step 1, identify the hidden no. Step 2, evaluate how she felt. And step 3, take action to say no to what wasn't serving her. So we're going to go over these steps now. So step 1, we're going to talk about finding the hidden no. So what's the hidden no? I want to talk about how this might be showing up in your life, right? So I was honest about where I was at, and I'll share things I've said yes to that I don't want to. But I want to really make this meaningful for you, and I want to make sure that you're taking action, right? So what have you said yes to this week? Think about that. What's something that you said yes to, like an automatic yes? Just oh, yep, I said yes to that. Put that thing in the chat box if you don't mind sharing. So for me, something that I said yes to this week was, I have a client, and yesterday at the end of the day when my hours were done, he came to me and he was like, hey, I have this project and I needed to get done by tomorrow morning. And so I felt all this pressure that I had to do it last night. And so then I took a step back and I said, hey, I need to have a conversation about this. Can I do some tonight and some tomorrow? So it wasn't like I need to add 2 more hours to my day today and push everything else back. So that was my yes. So what if I told you that you have already said no without realizing it? If you've said no to something, right, what might that be? If you said yes, like I did, to my extra project, or some other people said last minute call with a potential client, exactly, creating content for a friend who's starting building a website, perfect. So then when you say yes to those things, you're saying no to downtime, personal time, free time, playtime, whatever you want to call it. So frequently we fill out our entire calendar with things to do every day, and we have to-do lists, and we're really effective, and we get all our stuff done, and that's awesome. But every time you say yes to that extra project or that extra thing your boss calls you with, whatever that is, your client, you're saying no to having that other time that would have been there if you hadn't said yes. So why do you need that downtime? I know you can probably see, okay, yes, I said yes to this, so I said no to that. But why do you need that that time that's just saying, I need this space. I need this to be free. I don't need to schedule all this stuff in my day. What do you think? How does downtime help you guys? You can go ahead and share something in the chat box. For me, downtime is essential because if I don't have enough of it, I get really grumpy. And I'm not very nice to the people who are around me. And I don't want to show up like that, right? Recharge. It reminds you of your why. Perfect. Okay, so that is how you fill back up, right? So if you're giving in your business and your clients and your marketing and networking and all this stuff, at some point you have to fill back up. So it's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. I love this quote by Steve Jobs. Oh, Nope. Okay, cool. So when you have the hidden no and you realize that I said yes to these things, so I don't have the time for downtime, the next step is evaluating how you feel. So how do you know what to say no to, right? That's really confusing, being like, do I say no to all these types of things, or do I say no to family stuff, or do I say no to personal things, or whatever? A lot of times it ends up being the personal things, your own things that you say no to in order to serve someone else, right? So what I want you to think about is, when your cup is empty, what happens to your business, your relationships, your life? What happens when you give out all of your energy? Taylor said, downtime is hard for me because it's hard to get motivated again, right? So what I would encourage you to do, Taylor, is that you need, in my opinion, even more, so that then when you come back, you don't feel like, oh, I wish I had more of a break. I am super low. I just continue to be low, right? So what I encourage you to do is do the things that give you energy, the things that you get out of bed for, that make you excited, that you started your business for, right? More regular downtime, right? Cool. So doing things that give you energy really help you identify, I like to do this and I don't like to do that. Now, there's some things that we all have to do that we don't particularly care for, like dishes, right? Or if you have dogs, picking up in the yard, right? So even though those things don't really give me energy, I still have to do them. But when I am a part of a networking group, for example, and I'm dreading going to that meeting and it sucks up all my energy and I hate going to it, but I do every week because I've committed to it, then that's not something that is a good fit for me. So could someone else go to that meeting? Maybe I stop for a little bit, or I take a break, or I switch things up a bit. But paying attention to the things that give you energy will help you evaluate, what should I say no to and what should I say yes to? So you are responsible for filling up your own cup. A lot of times we take this time and we give it to other people and we forget about, what do I need to do for myself, right? So I want you to think about, what are some of the things that you like to do to fill up your own cup? For me, one of those things is reading, or taking a bath, or taking a walk, going on the lake. You guys can share in the chat, what are some of the things that you really love to do to help fill up your cup? Spending time outside. Yes. Camping, anything outside? Perfect. Running with your dog. Absolutely. That's great. Going for a walk, reading, gardening, hiking, playing with my kids. I love to garden. Recently, sort of like I've realized I'm an adult all of a sudden and I'm really enjoying gardening and buying plants. So those things, when we say yes to all this other stuff, then we're saying no to having that time to fill up our cups and do these things that we love to do. So you can fill up your cup by saying no to things that don't give you energy. So I want you to think about that. Saying no to things that you don't like to do, that don't give you energy, that once you're done with it, you're just super low. If you said no to that, what would you spend that time on? If you canceled all your meetings for 1 week, what would you spend your time on with that free time? If you have a lot of meetings in the afternoon or after work, or you have a lot of extra commitments, if you could cancel them for 1 week, what would you spend that time on? You can put it in the chat box. If I was able to cancel my different meetings, I would probably just take more time and go out on the lake right now, because it's so warm recently. Travel, right? Not in a pandemic. I do love to travel too. Camping, right? Perfect time for camping. Great time to get out. Anything else? Walk the farm, read more, watch a movie, right? all those things that give us great energy that sometimes we don't have time for, or we label as self-care, but we only do it when we're really busy or when things are crazy. We have a big project due, so we know we need some self-care time. But I want to shift that so that it's more of it's something we do on a consistent basis. So let's talk about taking action. Okay, let me know in the chat how comfortable you feel telling someone no right now. And we'll just do percentage. So like 25%, 50% of the time you feel comfortable telling someone no, 75% of the time, or are you at 100% and you feel comfortable telling people no and have no problem doing it? 50% depends on the person. That's a really good point, Kimberly. Absolutely. 30%. Okay. So sometimes it's really hard to say no, for me, to family members, right? That's one of the hard ones, or a potential client when they come and you have all this work that you're doing, but they're interested and they want to meet with you right away, of course. And so sometimes I have to make sure that I have positive boundaries and that I communicate with them and let them know that my schedule right now doesn't have capacity for them, but in 2 weeks I could meet with them. And sometimes that's really hard and scary, because what if they leave, or what if they go and work with someone else, or what if they don't come back, right? Yes, family is hard to say no to. I totally understand that, and I have said no to my family members in the past. It was hard. Recently, I've said no to a bridal shower because I really don't like them. I have nothing against the person who's getting married, but I don't like bridal showers. And I had to work through why I was saying no, and if it was the best thing for me, and how I wanted to share that with the people who had invited me to the bridal shower, right? I don't like showers either. Yay! Someone else out there. So action step, this is the first action step, one way that you can support yourself taking action. I want you to realize that no is a complete sentence. So we know this from grammar, right? But at the same time, it blew my mind when I first heard this, because I don't have to give someone an excuse. A lot of times when I wanted to say no to something that I didn't like a shower, I would need a really good excuse to come up with something. I would need to say more. I would need to say, oh, it has to look this way, or, oh, I have this other event that's happening, and so I can't possibly go to this. And then that opens up the door for that person to be like, oh, well, I'll help you go do that, and then you can come to my thing. And then you can't say no after they just called you out on your excuse that you came up with, right? So that's definitely happened to me before. But being able to say no, you can say, no, thank you. The next time someone asks you to do something, try just saying no and leave it at that without giving excuse, without telling them why. And you can just say, no, thank you very much. I appreciate the offer. And leave it at that and see what happens. Because it kind of shuts the door on further conversation and says, okay, this is where I'm at right now. So, action step number 2. I want you to think about no. And instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't say no, it's really hard for me to say no, I'm really scared of saying no, I want you to think about it as every time you say no, you are choosing to put your needs first. So when someone comes and asks you for something, or the next big project, or whatever that is, then if you're like, I need some extra time, you can say, no, I need this time, or I need some space, or I have plans that weekend, or no, it's not a good time. So you can be honest with some of those things about where you're at. They could also be excuses if you wanted to use them. You don't have to give them reasons, but I want you to shift from no means I'm rejecting someone to no equals I'm choosing to put my needs first. When I shifted to say no means I'm putting myself first, not in a selfish way, but because I have to take care of my needs so I can continue to give to people, it helped make it so that I could say no to a family member I could say no to a bridal party. I've said no to birthday parties of elderly people in my family who maybe wouldn't make it to another birthday. But at that time, I just didn't have the energy to be there with them. So this brings me to my third action step. You don't need to feel guilty when saying no. So how many people on this call feel guilty when they say no to someone? That's like your automatic response, or even think about saying no to someone often, right? Yes, yes, yep, I totally get it. Because we feel like we're rejecting them, or we're putting up our hand and being like, you're not important to me. But that's not what we're saying. That's why we're shifting it from no as a bad thing to saying, no, I need to take care of myself. So there's a concept when this guilt comes up for you that I want you to apply. And when I learned this one too, it also rocked my world. So when I heard this one first, they said, if it doesn't work for you, it won't work for them. And I didn't really understand it in the beginning, but then I saw it apply to my life in so many places. So I'm going to give you an example. When you go to that networking meeting that's at the end of the day and you didn't really plan on going to it, but you feel like you should because you need a new client or whatever it is, and you stand in the corner and you hope that nobody talks to you because you're so exhausted and you've had a really long day, but you're there because you're doing the networking, right? And I've done this, so this is my story. And you're just hoping everybody avoids you. If you think about it and you look back on it, that probably wasn't the best use of your time. I know it wasn't the best use of my time. And so it put me in a position where, what if I would have done something different with that hour instead of standing in the corner hoping that everybody avoided me? What if I would have taken that hour for a nap, or I would have taken that hour to go and do something that brings me joy, take a walk, read a book, whatever that is? In my opinion, now, looking back, I wish that I would have taken that time, because then maybe I wouldn't have reached that burnout point where I wanted to walk away from all of it. So giving myself the space to say, yes, I committed to this networking meeting and it doesn't work for me. So then it didn't really work for them either. I went to the meeting, but I didn't really network. So that wasn't good for the group either. And when you go to an event and you feel obligated and you don't want to go, you bring a negative energy and everybody knows and they don't really want to talk to you and you're not really a lot of fun. So if you think about it from a different perspective of saying, if it doesn't work for me, it's not going to be good for them either. It kind of helps you release some of that guilt and be like, I don't have to feel guilty about this choice. I'm putting my needs first and they can support me in that decision. So the number one thing that I want you to get out of today is that I want you to shift from I'm okay having low energy and saying yes to everything, right? That's where maybe you're at now, or maybe you've been there. And I want you to shift to I need to take care of myself, and that means putting my needs first. And that could be by saying no. You can put your needs first in other ways, right? It can look a lot of different ways. But I feel like you need to say no in order to identify that you need that downtime. You need to take that time. You need to have the regularly scheduled time. If you need to put it in your calendar and you need to get a notification that it's time to end your day or it's time for you to take a break, then that is a great opportunity for you to help build that habit in, right? So then for me, an example, in my calendar, I have free time scheduled in each day. So then I won't schedule something then because I already see there's something in my calendar, so it's not free space. So if you need to schedule your breaks or your lunch, especially now with everybody working from home, meeting virtually, it's really easy to have that crossover between work and life happen seamlessly, but then work kind of bleeds into your life. And so saying no to, I'm going to turn my email off at this time, or I'm going to stop checking my email at this time of night, or I'm going to make sure I take a lunch break and schedule 30 minutes every day. whatever that looks like for you. I can't tell you what's going to work for you, but I encourage you to put up some of those boundaries, and that's a way that you can say no, is saying, I already have that time scheduled. Nobody needs to know it's free time or personal time or do whatever you want time, right? But having it scheduled helps you see that and then say, oh, I don't need to put something else there. So what I want to do is I want to take it to the next level, right? I want to actually apply some of the things that we've learned today. So if you're ready for that, go ahead and put that in the chat box. Tell me yes if you're ready. Okay, cool. Cool, let's do it. All right, so I want you to write one thing that you want to say no to this week. And it can be the first thing that comes to your head. I'm going to think about something too. So I'm doing it with you. Dishes, right? Nobody wants to do dishes. Totally want to say no to dishes, absolutely. What am I going to say no to? Zoom calls, that's a good one. That's a good one. Work on my off day. Yes, yes, Sherry. Super important. I'm trying to come up with the thing that I want to say no to, and I think that it's going to be doing my makeup hours after the project that I did last night and this morning. So making up doing my full hours, cutting back so that I don't have to make up that extra time. Answering the phone whenever it rings, good. Helping a friend with document control for his crazy company. Awesome. Okay. Has everybody written something? Oh, Taylor, I'm not sure. Okay, cool. It took me a little bit to think of something. So what is something that you have scheduled? If you need to open up your calendar, you totally can, and look at and see what could you say no to. Or did you get an email this morning that you could say no to, or it's just that extra thing that you're like, I need to put it off to next week. I need to put it off for a month, whatever that is. Those are things that you could say no to in your business. In your personal life, you could say no to dishes, right? No to making dinner. Awesome. Perfect. So there are solutions for all those things. So do you have an idea, Taylor? I don't want to move on until you've got something, if possible. No pressure. No to painting our kitchen cabinets. Beautiful. Perfect. You can do it at a later time, right? Or you can do it never. They can stay unpainted. I don't know what they look like, so you may not make that choice, but okay, perfect. So the next thing is that I want you to open your phone and choose one of the last 3 people that you texted. So I'm doing this too. I'm gonna open my phone. And let me know in the chat when you have someone. Maybe just do a few of them at a time, right? They're bad. No worries. Okay, so choose one of the last 3 people that you texted. Let me know when you have them in the chat. I've got mine. Got it? Yes. Perfect. Okay. All right. So I want you to type this into your text. I want to say no to, and then write what you put in the chat. I'm not going to know if you change it. You can change it, but I would encourage you to write what you put in the chat. Can you text me next week to see if I have? So I'm going to text my sister. I want to say no to Doing extra hours for work. And you have just a couple minutes to do this, so don't make it a big thing. We're just taking action so then we can see some improvement and progress. Text me next week to see if I have. All right, did everybody type that in? I have on mine. Emily has. Perfect. And Sherry. Tina, awesome. I think we got a couple more. Okay. This is the big next part. Is that I want you to send the text. Right? Seems silly, but I want you to send the text. I encourage you to send it. Obviously, once again, this is the honor system, and I can't tell you what to do or not to do about it, right? But I want you to think about, okay, so when you're saying no, sometimes building habit, you need extra support. You need other people to help keep you accountable or to help have that conversation with about, I want to say no to this. What are ways that I could get support? For example, I don't want to do the dishes. So do you have someone who can support you in doing the dishes? Or are you going to eat off of paper plates for the next week because you don't want to do dishes? Either one is a solution, right? And there are other solutions. Doing the cabinets, I saw that somebody suggested doing them in small increments, or doing just a couple a day, breaking it up. That's an option. Paying someone to do them, that's another option. For some of the projects and things that come to us as business owners, we can ask people to say, hey, here's my calendar. I'm booked out for 2 weeks, and I'd love to put you in on that third week and then set up that time. I was really scared of doing that when I first did it. And I was really glad that I ended up doing it because people were at first shocked that I was so far out. But then they had no problem with it because it was on their calendar and I would just include them in my Google invite and they'd be like, oh, that actually came really quickly. But I would have networking meetings every week and people would want to meet with me that week. And I would say, nope, I'm 2 weeks out. I cannot give you more time than I have for my business, my clients, myself. And so I use my calendar to help support me in saying no. So what we just did is a way that you can get support with saying no to that thing, whatever that is, whether it seems like this is a silly thing or it's a small thing, whatever it is, building that habit of saying no, we need to have people help us do that, right? Okay. So we're going to go into a Q&A time when you can unmute and we can have a conversation about some of the things that we've talked about today. But before we go there, I wanted to let you know that if you want to get some more support, you can get my free guide. I put together 3 questions to help you identify when to say no, because sometimes it can be hard. So it has these questions that you can use to when you're trying to figure out, should I say no? Should I say yes? I'm really conflicted. I don't know what to do. And so it's an opportunity for you to say, ask myself these 3 questions. What are my answers? What's showing up for me? And self-evaluate. I should probably say no, or nope, I'm good. I'll say yes. That's good. So this is just a way to help you identify what's going on so you can build that habit. Gotta jump off. No worries, Emily. Thank you. Appreciate you joining. So we're going to have a Q&A session, and I am going to see if I can stop sharing my screen really quickly so that I can see you guys. So give me 1 second. Okay, cool. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about are some of the experiences that we have that can be hard to say no to, like bridal showers, right? So that's one thing. But I want to ask you guys what some of your experience, what are some of the things that are hard for you to say no to? So you can feel free to unmute yourself and we'll have a conversation about what that is.
I'll go.
Awesome.
So right now I would say that I'm kind of having to be flexible with potential clients and kind of answering the phone whenever somebody needs me to, because doing business services, business slowed down for 2 months. And so I'm trying to get, that momentum back up and that kind of a thing and have more clients. And so sometimes it's really hard to say no to, I'm not going to jump right on a call because I need business to do business,
Absolutely. So is there a way, have you implemented some things in your business that are like, these are my office hours, or, thank you for your call. I'm going to call you back at 1 because that's my office hours, or sometime when you can say, hey, I acknowledge you. And this is the time when I've set aside for you or for these calls or for a marketing conversation, so that if it's in the middle of your lunch break, you can still take your lunch break.
I would say 2 things. One, with my husband being my business partner, there's that accountability,
You're
right?
so
Like,
brave. You're so
yeah,
brave.
it's wonderful. I love it. But it's that accountability of, I can't just drop everything because it's physically impossible to keep that expectation going. Um, and then secondly, I would say, like you're saying, follow up with, I'm sorry I can't jump on a call right now, but I can talk to you tomorrow, or I can, whatever that looks, or you can shoot me an email. Or so keeping like that openness without just being instantly available, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. With everybody working from home and having the technology that we do, we kind of want that instant access, that instant touch point with someone, right? We want it to be easy and we want our answers right away. But when you acknowledge someone and then tell them, this is my boundary and this is when we can address this. This is when we can take care of this. This is when I can talk to you. That empowers you more to say that it's also, what you're doing is also important. As you said, you can't drop it all just to take that client at that time. You can take the call, but then you can say, hey, this is the time when I need to address this, or we'll get back to you at this time. So setting aside some of that time too to be present for those marketing calls that you have to take because of coronavirus. Has that been effective for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an ongoing learning process at the moment.
Okay.
So yeah, working out the kinks.
No worries, no worries. You'll figure it out as you go along. I just wanted to make sure that we address what you wanted feedback on specifically. So what some of the things that you had tried that had worked or hadn't worked.
Honestly, just being aware in the moment is probably the best thing that I can do. I've been in that place before where they expected Johnny on the spot all of the time. And so knowing that that's not the clients that I want to work with, if that makes sense. Not that there's not value. And I understand that there are some times where, people do need immediate responses when there's timelines and deadlines and that kind of thing. But at the same time, making sure that I'm protecting not only myself, but again, my business partner, who happens to be my husband, which then bleeds over into our personal life. So all the things.
Sounds like you're working on it. So then what's one way that you've successfully told people no for those clients that are not a good fit, which is awesome. Not all clients are a good fit for everyone. Absolutely.
Well, recently, like we had a client that would have been awesome. Just stable income, good communicator, all those kinds of things that would make for a really excellent client, but their non-disclosure agreement was super aggressive and like named us personally in it and didn't have a timeline, a deadline kind of thing for when the agreement would come to an end. So things like that. And so honestly, it was us looking at it going, okay, is opening ourselves up to be exposed in this way, is that going to feel, is that going to serve us in the long run, for, in exchange for this amount of money every month, essentially, and the answer ended up being no, it wasn't. And so it was really hard to walk away from, just because it felt like such a good fit in every other area. But it, like you were saying earlier, if it's not a good fit for you, it's probably not going to be a good fit for them either. So just
Yes.
like I said, that personal awareness, I think.
Thank you so much for bringing up clients that are not a good fit. So with the like family situations and saying no to family events and being like, I don't want to go to someone's birthday party because I just am so low, I don't have any energy, it won't be good for you, won't be good for them. Absolutely. But with clients, the same thing. And you're right, it's so hard sometimes to walk away from money. Stable money, consistent income, as our businesses can fluctuate or have coronavirus happen in the middle of it. And I have done my share of working with clients that were a really bad fit. And so now I know that even though that money is really nice and that client would be really nice, I've had to walk away from people, and I've been so grateful that I did, and that I didn't have to deal with any of the problems that I knew already were not a good fit. So super excited. Definitely you get to celebrate that walking away. Okay, who else? What's like something you said no to or something you want support saying no to? Let's have a conversation. It's okay. You can all unmute if you want to, and we can just, it doesn't have to be one-on-one. I just wanted to make sure that we had time as if we were in a group setting and something came up for you and you were like, hey, I wanted to talk about this, or get more information about that, or what's your experience with this?
I guess I wanted to follow on with that conversation y'all just had. I guess I have a hard time saying no to family, and I've been in business with family a lot more recently, of just deals and things like that. And not that the logistics can't be sorted out, but just, you already have your responses to people that you have, that are family, and how do you like slow down and try to make it work, or try to communicate better because you expect them to know you better.
So sometimes that communication can definitely get, I don't want to say twisted, but can definitely be a challenge sometimes with people who you think should know you really well, or you have that expectation, right? So my question would be for you is that if you're asking how to slow down, what are some of the things that you do if you had plenty of time, what is something that first comes to your mind that you would do in order to slow down?
I mean, breathing, but I mean, being mindful is obviously something I'm going to stick to.
It's super important. It's really important. But I mean, like a physical thing, is there something that reminds you to do that, or something that you have scheduled in your calendar, or something that, like reading for me, is really a nice break? I will also do meditation for mindfulness to help shift my brain from being reactive to being reflective, so I can take that beat and be really present. But there's some things that I need to help remind me when I need that. So do you know some of the signs that are showing up that might mean you need to take that downtime? You need to take that break?
Yeah, I do. I tend to get more blunt about things, and just kind of, you feel that heat under your neck or whatever. So I do have signs that I'm just like, okay, I'm about done with this. But yeah, actually having that trigger something that makes me slow down is, something I just need to try to have more. So.
Yeah. So what I would ask is, what has been successful in the past with you when maybe you've gotten a little bit more blunt, but you've set up some of those boundaries with your family? What has been successful where you achieved the result that you wanted? What have you done?
I guess I think it's just the juxtaposition of me having business associated with my family. That's just brand new. So I just need to think of it as, okay, this is just one other way to communicate and deal with these people that I care about, instead of treating it like I would at my job necessarily. So, because I want to be professional. It's just, I'm the youngest sibling. So, sometimes that just doesn't come across to my older siblings. So.
Yeah, I totally understand having that back history and like, oh, well, you always do this, or it always looks like that, or, whatever you say. I'm an oldest, so I understand, and I am not perfect. I have spent way too much time trying to be perfect, so I am not perfect. I get that. And so I would take some time to see in the past what's been effective for you. How have you said no? Like we were talking about just a few minutes ago, acknowledging this isn't a good client. You may not be there in your business yet. You have taken on some clients and you're developing what is a good fit, what isn't a good fit, but having some of those boundaries. How have you said no in the past? What's been successful? Is it something that you need to have a physical reminder, or you need a reminder in your calendar, or you need to get someone to support you, like with a text message? What are those different ways that you can get support to say, nope, this is the boundary that I want, and I don't want to be that person that's very blunt and hot under the collar and mad at my family for being an annoying oldest?
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. We had a good question. What's a nice way of saying no to backbite in the office? Backbite, like someone telling you what to do? That's from Nadine. I just wanted a little bit more information. So if it's someone is telling you what to do, or they're being kind of passive aggressive, then an opportunity for you to work through that relationship and improve your communication. Oh, talk about another colleague in a negative way. They talk about another colleague in a negative way. So if that's something that you don't want to be a part of, then you can physically remove yourself. But if someone is continuing to do that, you can share your experience of them, have a really open and honest conversation, if possible, with them, not when they have a lot of people around them, if one-to-one, if possible, and say, this is how this makes me feel when this happens. So you're not accusing, and it's just your experience that you're sharing. Sometimes getting that off of your back can be really helpful, and that person doesn't even realize that they're doing something that's offending or hurting or tearing you down, and you get to be heard. And then if it's truly a negative environment, then it's something that you get to decide how to set up boundaries, better boundaries. So when you're setting up a boundary, you're saying yes to something that you want, and you're saying no to something you don't want. For example, a simple boundary with email. At 5, I try not to answer my emails after 5 p.m. So my boundary is that that's my free time, that's my downtime. So I'm saying yes to downtime and I'm saying no to my client work. That it's probably not an emergency, and so I can answer it in the morning. If it's really bothering them, they need to confront. I would encourage them to speak with that person they're speaking about, right? If they're talking bad about someone else, then you get to decide where you are at, what part you want to be in that, right? But in the end, it's really not, it doesn't involve you. So you get to decide, are you going to physically walk away? Are you going to remove yourself from the situation? Or do you want to share how you feel in that situation? So you can do multiple different things. The only thing is you can't change someone else. You can't make someone else do something. You can only control what you can do. So that's where boundaries and communication come in. So we've got about 4 minutes left. And was there another comment? Nope. Okay, so we're just going to wrap up. If you have any last questions or if you need any additional things from me, you can always email me at info@myintuitioncoach.com, or you can visit my website, myintuitioncoach.com, and learn more about what that looks like and how I help people and what I do. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for the conversation. Have a great day and enjoy Western Slope Startup Week.